Hey! 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 I'm gonna be a real someday. I'm gonna be somebody. I'm gonna be a real donkey. And then I won't want you. Everything gonna come my way. Cause I won't need nobody. I'm gonna be a real donkey. And then I won't want you. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. I won't even look your way when I'm motorbike. Cause I'm gonna be a real someday. I'm gonna be somebody. I'm gonna be a real donkey. And then I won't want you. Oh, then I won't want you. Then I won't want you. Well, that's Fats Domino. Fats Domino just died. Well, that's a really bad version of Fats Domino, but that's Fats Domino just died. He just heard like an hour ago, and I got to do this video for VCLT from Headbanging Zulu. Steve, hello, it's Steve the Headbanging Zulu here. And I was thinking, because Steve just saw Wasp, and my favorite song from Wasp is I Want to Be Somebody, and Fats Domino died, and my favorite song from Fats Domino is I'm gonna be somebody, or I'm gonna be a wheel someday. But I'm gonna be a wheel someday. I'm gonna be somebody. And so I just said there's the connection. So now we have to make the video now. And I got a VCLT from Steve all the way from England. And let's go on. Steve's great channel. Started not that long ago. I really like him. He just seems like a really friendly guy. Like, you could tell I'm probably not friendly all the time, or some of the other people are friendly on video, but probably not friendly all the time. But Steve, I think, is friendly all the time. But who knows? But he was friendly to me, and he sent me a package. He said he found some records in the wild. I'm like, you know, buddy, you know, don't waste your money and send them to me. And sure enough, he sent them to me. And I got the package. Of course, I opened it right away. I'm not going to do this scissors, knives, and cutting fingers and stuff on camera. But I got a package, and there's a box, because I'm not going to show you addresses. But I opened it right away, and as soon as I opened it, I had the records in my hands. I am so super psyched, because they're records I've always wanted. They weren't high on the list, but just something in the back of my mind, oh, I'm going to own them, because they're such an important part of rock and roll history. But he got me, first off, he got me, this is what I opened the box, and I saw this right away. So I got the Union Jack here, and we'll hang it up, and we'll hang it up. We'll hang it up over Slade. Slade from Wolverhampton, who's kind of, that's the Midlands, I think, over by, I don't believe it. That's over kind of, Steve's lives in, outside of Birmingham, a Birmingham area. Sorry it's crooked, I don't know if that's disrespectful, but he got me the first two Crazy Cabin and the Rhythm Rocker records, and I am absolutely psyched, because these do not come up in America. You're never going to see them, and I used to see them in England, but then on the top of my list, this is the mid-70s Teddy Boy revival, and it took me years to, I understood the importance of it, but to really get into it, it was not even that many years ago. It wasn't during the rockabilly years, like Rockabillys and Teds did not get along until maybe the mid-90s, late 90s. I could be wrong. Yeah, I was definitely probably in the mid-90s before. But anyway, the Teds are rock and roll in England, and the Teddy Boys were, you know, a subculture group that were around before rock and roll in the early 50s, and in the 70s, probably the height of it, you know, 71 was the Great Teddy Boy March. I don't want to go into all the Teddy Boy history, but it's fascinating, and the coolest, toughest guys. But this is 1975. There wasn't too many people keeping the flame alive as far as, like, real ass kickers, but they were certainly tough guys. And Crazy Cabin is Joe Strummer got his whole gag. You know, Crazy Cabin's the man. And first record on Rock House Records, which is important rockabilly or rock and roll distribution group from France and Holland, and they put out a lot of stuff, and you could order through them when this is all pre-internet. But the great Rock House Records, they used to have catalogs and ads. And then I got the second Crazy Cabin rocket. That was called Crazy Rhythm. This is rockabilly, and they are not a rockabilly band, but they were, Teddy Boy band. There's all differences, but we don't need to get into that. But I mean, these guys are tough guys. You can see the cuts on their knuckles and the scars, and I mean, Teddy Boys are tough. Out of all the subcultures in England, I mean, Teddy Boys were going to be the toughest. You know, maybe skinheads you could put in there, but the old Teds in the 70s, they ruled. A lot of the guys were still from the 50s who were ganging with the Teds in the 70s, and the ones in the 80s is all direct lineage, and it still hasn't really stopped. It got smaller, but like most of those guys are all lifers, and they're like a 70s version of 50s rock and roll, but they're not pretty fellows. I mean, and rock and roll isn't supposed to be pretty, but I am so psyched to have these. This is on the great Charlie records. You have tons of records on Charlie, and it just has the orange, but the great. It's not even a great because it's kind of corny, but geez, this is like 1976. You know, that's Charlie Records. I mean, I know this label so well, but probably not too many metalheads have ever seen that one. But and so I'm absolutely psyched. When I had these records in my hand, I just fell in love. It's not really the best musically, although I absolutely dig it. But it's still primitive, and to try to get the 1950s sound in the 70s and being from England with different equipment and not knowing it and being great musicians, it's definitely dated, but the dated stuff has a charm the way like early new wave or early metal, like the dated stuff sometimes sounds the best. But Crazy Cabin, the most important of all the Teddy Boy bands. So I'm super psyched, and Steve also sent me a disc, which is cool, and it's a skiffle disc. It's called the Skiffle Sensation by Lonigan's Skiffle Group, and skiffle, British music from the early 50s, pre-rock and roll, and it's kind of like a revved up folk music with like crappy instruments. You might have a wash tub bass or washboards and just tuned up like a whole bunch of guitars and stuff. But Lonnie Donegan, of course, the king of skiffle, the most famous. This band's called the Lonigans, and they got names like they reverse it. Instead of Lonnie Donegan, it's Donnie Lonigan. We got Bonnie Lonigan, Connie Lonigan, Johnny Lonigan, and Wee Willie Harris sings a couple tunes. Who's a 50s rocker from England, not that well known, but in England he'd be pretty well known. But a cool disc, a lot of classics, and they do a couple good covers. They do North to Alaska, the Johnny Horton historical tune. You know, some skiffle standards, but it's great. And I was thinking skiffle. I popped in this. First off, Fats Domino, you know, another pre-rock and roll guy who kind of like Bill Haley was doing music before rock and roll broke, and then changed his sound and kind of slowly updated. But this is all. So we got Teddy Boys pre-rock and roll, we got skiffle pre-rock and roll, and I see a direct lineage to skiffle and oi, and maybe just because like English pub songs and soccer chants or hooligan chants. But I have some skiffle on CD. I love it. I'm not an expert or anything, but the Vipers, as far as I can tell, the Vipers are the best of the skiffle groups. And here's a Vipers tune, if I have this set up right. And I totally hear oi music in this.
Now me and my wife went to town.
Now let's go. Don't you rock me, daddy-o. Don't you rock me, daddy-o. Well, thank you, Steve. Everyone should subscribe to Steve's channel. You can check my older videos. He usually leaves a comment, or you can look up Headbanging Zulu. And super nice guy. Thank you, Steve. I am more psyched than I even would have imagined by owning these records. He's going to fit so well in the collection. And cheers from America to England. I don't know what you guys think of this, but I mean, this is like, it's not Emerson, Lake and Palmer or anything, but
well, she put one on and it looked a treat.
I mean, I could see drinking to this. Don't you rock me, daddy-o. Don't you rock me, daddy-o. Don't you rock me, daddy-o. Alright, it's probably boring now, but the Viper's great skiffle. Pick up tempo too, I can hear it. Alright, cheers.